George Kilpatrick Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Tuesday, November 4th is election day, but we're still voting right now. This is actually today the second day of November, the last day to actually vote early. And then it all comes together on this Tuesday, November 4th. One of the candidates for mayor is Alfonso Davis. Welcome, Alfonso, to the program. Alfonso and I go way back. Back.
Yes, we go back. We used to travel to caucuses together.
Back in the day. Back in the day, doing good work back in the day.
Absolutely.
So let's talk. This is our conversation series for candidates for mayor. Let's talk to you about, Alfonso, what inspired you to run for mayor of the Syracuse? It's not your first rodeo running for mayor. And so what inspired you to run for mayor this time?
Well, what inspired me particularly this time, because I actually thought about it. I thought about whether or not if I should. And for me, I just looked at what we've gotten from this current administration. And it hasn't been good. He ran on Rise Above Poverty. Poverty went up 38%. He ran on decreasing crime. Crime went up 26.8%. Violent crimes, by the way. And if you look at our city, this current administration spent $270 million downtown. Yet there's 4 connective corridors, south, north, east, and west. $0 spent in those connective corridors. 0. And I started raising this issue, and that's one of the reasons that I ran. I just felt people who were marginalized and disenfranchised were forgotten about and continue to be forgotten about, and not just under this administration, but previous administrations. And so I just felt that I was going to put my hat in the race and seek the office of mayor. But getting back to my point with the resources being spent, once I started raising that issue, I guess obviously they're paying attention because they started spending money in one of the connective corridors. But George, you've been here for a long time. I'm born and raised here. The connective corridor they started spending money in is Tip Hill, an area that's consistently have been doing affluently well. Not the lower part of Tip Hill, which would be the west side, but the area that is doing affluently well. That's like them spending money where I live in they would say the Upper East Side.
Right.
It's like starting here versus starting over there on Columbus and where the apartments are in that area. When you're going to spend money in connective corridors, start with the areas where blight is the most prevalent, where poverty is the most prevalent. And so I just think that the leadership has missed the boat, and I think we need somebody who is going to lift up the very least of them, because I'm a firm believer that when you lift up the very least, everything elevates. So that was my real push behind deciding I'm gonna put my hat in the race this time, and it's just different. I believe I'm gonna win.
And so when you think about your own personal experiences, what are you bringing to this race?
I'm bringing the fact that I'm born and raised here. Pioneer Homes, Central Village, better known as Brick City, then the South Side, then the West Side on Fifth Street. When my mother was murdered, I was 15. We had to move back to the South Side with my grandparents. And then, unfortunately, 6 years after that, my sister was murdered. So the experience of the hardship that being raised in the city and coming up and seeing the struggles of people in our community, being able to go to college, get educated, teach in the school district, work at a company that afforded me to live where I live, doing well, I see the struggles and the issues in the people in our community because I've been there. And I know that what changes that is having opportunity, access, and resources in a way that you can tap into to change your circumstances or the dynamics where you live or where you are. And it just has not been given.
So as mayor, if you're elected mayor, what would be the first thing, or what would be your platform? What is your platform, number one? And then what would you do to create the change that you want in this city that you were born and raised in?
One of the things that one of my biggest platforms that I believe will resonate and has resonated is that I believe in small businesses. I believe that, and you know, as an intelligent individual, that every major economist will tell you that any metropolitan cities throughout the United States, when you have a strong small business factor in your community, your city, your town, your county is strong. This city has not focused on that in a way that they support, not just financially, but economically, in terms of helping small businesses do better wisely, because economics and finances are two different things. Economically, you do it wiser, smarter. You learn how to spend less. You learn how to operate with the tools that you have at hand to do it economically intelligent. Finance is actually having the dollars and cents that makes the difference. We give huge tax breaks to everyone else but small businesses. When I'm mayor, under my administration, I'd rather give a small business a tax incentive versus the Destiny USA that's 37 years, the hotel down the street, I believe it's on Clinton Street, 27 years, the law office on, not Clinton Street, but, what is that? Fayette Street. And then the law office on Clinton Street, 22 years. What residual comes back to the city from those tax incentives? Absolutely nothing. So for me, I'd rather give tax incentives to the small business. And it works like this, George. With looking at the city budget and looking at where we are and not misappropriating $10 million, because that $10 million that was misappropriated under this administration, I would have used to support those small businesses.
You said that money was misappropriated? What do you mean?
This current administration misappropriated $10 million. It was the woman wrote the book, How the City of Syracuse Does Business. She was on Channel 3 with Matt McCahey. I actually spoke to her. I got the book. I read it. She has the emails. She has the requisitions. She has evidence of it. And it's crystal clear.
Is this related to, I'm just trying to focus. This is related to the implementation of is this the implementation of the new, I think was it a payroll system or something?
Payroll, yep.
Yes, okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It is a part of that. It is a part of that. And she lays it out clearly. And when I spoke to her, and I don't want to lose track, but and I'll come back to that. But when I would have used money to give small businesses. So let's use you for an example, George. You're interested in starting a business under my administration. We'll have a business class where you come in and you sit down and we'll work with you, talk with you, see your vision, kind of take your vision from your thought to paper, and how do we bring that to fruition? But you also have to have some skin in the game. So if you got $10,000, we'll try to match you depending on where we are budget-wise to kind of help you, be successful. So now you sit down with us, we help bring your business to fruition. Most businesses fail within 3 to 5 years because they have to worry about so much. And part of that so much would be the taxes. Well, under my administration, we're going to forgo your taxes for the first 3 to 5 years that you would pay to the city. And what that will allow you to do is to become stable and get on your feet. Once you are stable and on your feet and your business is growing, you have to give us access to be able to come in and look to see where you are and if you're growing. Then we'll start taxing you. We won't immediately tax you at 100%, but we will gradually grow you until we can get you to 100%. And your survival and your success will be the success of the city, because your stability will be the city's stability. And then on top of that, let's say in the 6th year, George, your business is doing well and you're growing. You have to hire somebody. You hire somebody local. Now you've created employment for someone that lives in the city. Now I want to give you another incentive, because you are creating and helping us deal with the issue of poverty in our community. We're actually changing it one business at a time. And so when you work from that perspective, when you grow your city's businesses and you are a business friendly city, your city grows financially, your community grows financially. But we haven't been that in this administration. I mean, well, in this city, not just this administration, but previous administrations as well. So I can't put everything that this current administration foots, but unfortunately, you know how it goes. When you're in the house now, it falls on you.
In what ways? So would you raise taxes on city residents to raise revenue in the city?
No, I would not, and this is how I would raise revenue. 47% of the residents in the city of Syracuse, 47% pay 100% of the taxes. George, we cannot sustain our city like that. And a lot of those individuals are fixed income. I know my property tax have gone up. I'm sure yours have gone up, because I've gone door to door. I've probably knocked down to the tune of a little over 6,000 doors with my team. Together, we probably knocked down about over 10,000 doors. And the majority of the people doors I knocked down who own homes talk about their property taxes going up. And I tell them that 47% of us pay 100% of the taxes. So my idea of raising revenue is 2 ways. One, there's a lot of people who work for the city of Syracuse that do not live in the city of Syracuse. Be they police officers, school teachers, firefighters. I think I named them all. And some people at
DPW.
DPW, but the majority of them do.
But they don't have, but those are the areas, right?
Yeah. I will put a commuter tax on every single person that draws a check from the city but doesn't live in the city. And it'll be a percentage. It just won't be a one flat rate. It'll be a percentage based on your income. So and it's happening in other municipalities.
So the police, by the way, right now, the new deal, right? They have a 5-year where they have to live in the city. Is that still in place?
I believe so.
Right.
I believe so.
But firefighters don't have to. Teachers don't have to. Those are.
No, firefighters do have to.
They do.
They do have to. Teachers do not.
Okay.
Teachers do not. But this is the problem with that. That whole pool of workers, George, draw from the city every 2 weeks. And you know what they put back into the city coffer? 0. And so you'll draw from that for 30 years. And then when you retire, you'll move to Florida, Miami, wherever, somewhere tropical. And then the city will send your check to that location. So for 30 years, plus during your retirement, you're drawn from the well of the city, but the city gets nothing back in return. We have to change that scenario. So that will help generate revenue.
You said so a commuter tax would be one. What else would you do?
The other one is that Syracuse University owns over 500 properties. Lemoyne College just acquired another 30. I believe they're probably in the 220 range of properties. Every single of those properties in the city of Syracuse, George, are tax exempt. You know who pay for snow removal, garbage pickup, police and fire? The 47%. On top of the tax pilots that they get from the city. So when I'm mayor, I'm bringing them to the table. We're gonna renegotiate these pilots to talk about how you can give back to the city that you can constantly suck the blood of.
And I just want to make one correction on the firefighters. It's kind of the same, 5 years for the new hires, but the others who are already outside of the city are not required.
Not required. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Just want to clarify that because
yes.
We got to be accurate.
Absolutely. Because I don't want to get beat up. Oh, he was wrong. George just let him be wrong. Yeah. So no, you're absolutely right.
Right.
And so with that being said, we'll bring them to the table to tell them that, listen, you have to give something back. The only mayor who did that was Lee Alexander. Stephanie Minor attempted to do it during her last, I think she had like a year and a half left. And by the time anything washed out, she was gone. A new administration came in and it just fell to the wayside. But she recognized that they have to bring something back to the table. We cannot continue to sustain them with 47%. We can't. I'd rather tax them from the perspective of bring something back to the table because you already you get the pilots and you're benefiting on the backs of the taxpayer versus raising the taxes of the 47% to go even higher.
You talked, Alfonso Davis, candidate for mayor, city of Syracuse. You talked about your family, how you personally have been impacted by violent crime in your childhood coming up. Both your brother and your mother taken by violent crime.
My mother and sister.
Mother and sister, excuse me. Tell me your plan to reduce crime in the city of Syracuse so that residents can feel safe, or if they're not safe, feel perceived as safe.
Well, one of my visions as mayor, when I become mayor, is that I want to get police officers back on the streets, George, actually walking the beat, patrolling the streets, communicating with the neighbors, getting to know the neighbors of the community that they service. That's one. The other is increasing the number of law enforcement officers we have. If I'm not mistaken, and the numbers is somewhere about 367. They have a budget for 420, but we really should be at 535. That's where we should be at. So when I'm mayor, there's a threefold process. One, I want to recruit heavily in our local high schools because I want young people who live in this city, from this city, and you don't have to necessarily be from this city, but I prefer you do, but live in this city, out of our city high schools, to get involved in law enforcement and become police officers in their communities. Because who is better to police your community than someone who lives, works, knows this city, and become a part of the fiber of our law enforcement? We have to allow our young people to understand that this is a career pathway. We don't do no recruiting in our local city high schools like we used to. And I know this for a fact. We don't. They go everywhere else. Skinny Atlas, Lafayette, Jordan Elbridge, all these other places outside of the city. I'm a recruit heavily and try to entice our young people to become law enforcement, because who's better to police your community than somebody that lives here? That's one of the fold in terms of how I'm looking at reducing crime. The other piece is getting officers actually on the streets, patrolling the city streets. Right now, we have drive-by policing. You cannot connect with the people, know the people when you're doing drive-by policing. They come in with this Gestapo attitude, squash earth, no relationship. So they get rebuffed because you don't come in with the sense of, Oh, George, hey, George, Officer Davis, hey, Mr. Kilpatrick, I see you. You know what I mean? Now we have this relationship. We have this rapport. We don't have that. So I think getting officers connected to the community from community policing, actually walking the beat, that's going to help reduce crime. Giving incentives to officers to want to live in the city, living on your block, my block, is going to help reduce crime, because we have to offer them some type of an incentive for those who say, well, I don't want to pay that commuter tax. They want to move back in the city. On top of them moving back in the city, we have to I'm going to give them an incentive to move back into the city. And whatever that works out to be, we'll make it happen, because the goal is to change the complexity of what our communities look like in terms of violent crimes happening in our city streets. Police presence makes the difference. But I just don't want you coming with this Gestapo squash earth attitude. I want you coming from a perspective of, I'm from this community, I'm of this community, and we're going to help police our community together.
Alfonso, a couple last thing. Obviously, we've got the Micron coming to the community. You've got I-81 project, jobs. They just started bulldozing McKinney Manor, I'm told today. And so there's a lot at stake here around jobs and economic growth. How will you as mayor help to stimulate that for the residents in the city?
Well, for me, it's a twofold. A lot of people, and I told them, during our debates, that we have to be honest about Micron. George, a lot of people in our city, young people, won't even qualify for a job at Micron if they have a felony, because you're going to have to pass you're going to have to get a clearance. You're going to have a clearance and a background check. So some of the older individuals who have issues won't even qualify. That's one thing. The other thing is that because there's some time out, we could begin to focus on trying to gear some of our young people to become a part of that process in terms of tracking them to get a job at Micron. As mayor, when I'm speaking to Chuck Schumer or Senator Gillibrand, I'm talking to them about making sure that individuals in the city of Syracuse, not in Lafayette, not in Camillus, not in Fayetteville, but in the city of Syracuse, have opportunities to seek employment at this place called Micron that is going to be paying people very well. I worked at Chrysler. Chrysler paid me well, or a new process gear. The same thing with the 81 project. When I ran for mayor in 2008, I used to meet with DOT because that's when things really started beginning to come into fruition. And back then, George, I talked about making sure that when major companies come in to start the construction, a lot of them bring people with them. They bring them from Pennsylvania, they bring them from Ohio, they bring them from different places. And the laborers here are left out of the loop. As mayor, I'm going to make sure that the people local are a part of that loop, because you're looking at a $2.5 billion project. So we need to make sure that young people, older people, anybody who's qualified have access. I'm going to sit down with DOT and say, so the state dollars that's coming through my city, we need to make sure that there's a percentage of people that look like me, and not just look like me, but whether you black, white, Asian, or Hispanic, you live in the city of Syracuse, you need to have the ability to have access to those jobs and opportunities, because unfortunately, we are always overlooked. And I don't think we've had anybody who forcefully said, not just to DOT or to even Micron, that we need to make sure that we pay attention and create opportunities for people in our city to acquire some of these jobs. And we're not left on the outside looking in. Most of the guys in the city of Syracuse who bought dump trucks, George, because in 2008, I was coming on your show and I was coming on Rick Wright's show. And I was talking about the fact that that was going to be a major opportunity.
Right.
Now, they don't give me the credit. Only 2 of them did say, I heard you on George show. I heard you on Rick White show talking about these dump trucks. That's why I went and bought them. Those opportunities are real now. And they're coming to fruition. But we also got to make sure that people who don't have dump trucks, but people who got some skills can also have those opportunities to do some of those jobs and not just flagging. And I'm not saying flagging is a bad thing because you can make money, but at the end of the day, we need a mayor who's going to fight for the people to have access to those jobs like everybody else.
Let me ask you something quickly, because during the debates, when you were asked about one of your opponents, Sharon Owens, was endorsed by the Syracuse.com, and you said you weren't surprised because how they have treated you and your family. What did you mean by that?
So that's a great question that you asked about the paper when they endorsed Sharon. And I wrote them a letter refusing to even be interviewed in their process.
And you stated because of the way they treated your family, right?
Because the way they've treated me and my family, and particularly me and my wife, the situation with my wife, that as a judge, that they maligned my wife in such a negative way. And this is the sad part, is that they had the ability to get the transcript, to find out exactly what happened.
This is around the gay marriage and
yes.
Right, yeah.
They chose not to, because let me give you the facts. She already did, I believe, 3 same-sex marriages. Spiritually, it bothered her. She had a conversation with our pastor. Our pastor said, well, you have to follow your heart. Do what's, spiritually for you. So when she decided that she didn't want to do any, because for religious beliefs, she didn't want to do that anymore. She didn't just say, I'm not going to do them. She reached out, sent the email, asked to be recused of all weddings until they make a decision, because she no longer wanted to do same-sex marriages for religious beliefs, not because she's anti them, religious beliefs. They moved it. It was 2 weddings scheduled, a heterosexual and a same-sex wedding. They both were scheduled. They moved them, George, to a different date, waiting to, for them to make a decision on how they were going to handle it. Mary Ann Doherty, the supervising judge, who just so happens to be married to a woman, put those weddings back on her calendar, never told Judge Davis that she put them back on her calendar. She had her clerk call those individuals to tell them that they were back scheduled. But this is where the minutiae, the trickery comes in. When she was breaking for recess during court, they had there were some people in the courtroom. She never knew, or whether or not saw that they were there. The gay couple was there, but she was getting ready to break for recess, because they were waiting for the bailiffs to bring in the inmates from from wherever to be arraigned or to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
The one of the clerks said, "Your Honor, we have a wedding." And so she looked down because she was confused, because she knew that it wasn't on her calendar. So as she was fumbling through the information, or thumbing through her calendar to try to find it, the bailiff had already brought the man and woman up to her. So she married them. She married them because being the type of person she is, even if they had brought the same-sex couple up, she would have married them because you know my wife. Her disposition is not to embarrass or to disrespect anybody. So she married them. She said, "Is there anything else?" "No, Your Honor." When she proceeded to go ahead and break, the clerk said, "There's Judge Doherty is here. This is on a Saturday." And she said, "Well, why is Judge Doherty here? She doesn't work on Saturdays." And the clerk was like, I don't know. They both shrugged their shoulders. Judge Davis proceeded to go off the bench, walk through the door where the judges go to the break room, wherever they go. Mary Ann Doherty was coming through the other side. This wasn't in the courtroom. It was in that little foyer. Mary Ann Doherty walked up to Judge Davis and chest bumped her. Yes, chest bumped her. She had to put her hands up and say, "Excuse me?" Mary Ann Doherty said, "You're not going to do the wedding?" "What wedding?" "You're not going to do the wedding?" "What wedding?" "The same-sex wedding." "No, I am not, for religious beliefs." But she had to tell her to back up because she chest bumped her. Mary Ann Doherty stormed by her, went into the courtroom, performed the wedding of the two females. Then Mary Ann Doherty left the bench, texted Jimmy Montos, the 5th District Counselor, and told him that Judge Davis stormed out of the courtroom while those people were up before her and refused to marry him. George, everybody knew that was a lie, even the district attorney, because he has the ability to do what, George? FOIL. Mm-hmm. Get the transcript. So the press knew it was a lie because they have the ability to FOIL, get the transcript. Why would I deal with you when you dealt with my wife dishonestly? And then with my situation, when I ran for mayor, the way they covered me.
So you're saying the way the Syracuse.com, the way they covered the story and you say they didn't cover the truth of the story, or you felt like they represented it?
Yeah, they didn't cover the truth because they did not get up. They have the same ability to FOIL. You as a media, you could say, you could put it up, you say, we want the transcript.
But and I'm not arguing the merits of it, other than wasn't there a point that, and that's what the brouhaha was about, how can you do that if you're an elected jurist?
Because the judges aren't required to perform weddings.
So that's not
a part of their judicial requirement.
Right.
They perform them at discretionary.
No, I get it.
There's judges right now who won't perform any weddings.
Right. No, I get it. And I think, but the optics, right, is that it implies that you're not going to get the same treatment because you're gay, right? That's what it implies.
Well, that's what they tried to imply.
Right.
But Judge Davis had many gay people come before her who will tell you they got justice from her.
Right. So
the paper tried to imply and create an image that was a lie and that was false.
And then
it's still a lie and it's still false.
And your own campaign.
In my campaign, when I ran for mayor, the first time I ran for mayor, me and my godmother, Janice Spates, went down to the paper. George, we sat in that office for 2.5 hours talking to them about who I was as a candidate. When they came out with the story, it said, and I quote, Alfonso Davis worked at Chrysler, quick to run for mayor.
That's it?
That's it. Nothing else. That was it. And then the situation with my gun charge that I was shouldn't have never been charged with. License to carry my firearm. I made an honest mistake, and I would be the first one to say that was a bonehead mistake.
This was at the Rochester airport.
This was in Rochester, the Rochester airport. I'll be the first to tell you, George, that was a bonehead mistake because I'm licensed to carry. I do gun safety training. Unfortunately, I just had surgery. I took 2 hydros. I'm going on a business flight out of the country. I was actually, me, my brother, and my good friend of mine, we was going to actually purchase some property. I just literally forgot I had my firearm on me. I kept it in my sling because I just had surgery in my sling. I literally forgot because I normally take it and put it in my buddy's safe. But I completely forgot. But yes, I take full responsibility of the fact that I made a mistake.
But
they criminalized my mistake, and this is what the press did. This is what the local press did. They talked about it like, without talking to me, as if I tried to sneak my gun in the airport, 1. 2, they also said that that I tried to be, I don't know the word they used, evasive. I don't remember the word they used, but just the way they maligned me, George, off of a mistake that I made was just horrific. But mind you, mine happened September 22nd, 2022. George, there's been 29 other cases between Syracuse and Rochester. 7, and I've been licensed to carry my firearm. I've been licensed to carry my firearm for years. There's been 29 other cases since my case. And 7 of those people weren't even licensed to carry firearms.
And we didn't hear about it.
Got arrested.
And we didn't hear about it. So let me ask you this. With that being said, and having to work with the press, right? What do you think your relationship will be going forward as you seek to set out a mission to grow the city?
Obviously, we have media outlets that we have to get the message to the people. That's why you have Inspiration for the Nation. George Kilpatrick, we have the ability to have a sit down with the mayor, me, Alfonso Davis, the next mayor, about the message that I'm trying to get out. I'm not saying that I will totally ignore them because that's a local media in our community. But that's why we have television stations. That's why we have Inspiration with the Nation with George Kilpatrick. Anything that I need to give them, it will always be in writing. I will send you what we need to give you, and it will be in writing because I don't trust their integrity.
Wow.
They showed me that I cannot trust their integrity.
And I'll say this in final, what would you like to leave the voters of this city with in terms of your message to grow the city and your vision for economic growth where jobs are plentiful and the city is flourishing? Housing is a big issue. I know you've been out in the streets. This is what you're hearing: housing, you're hearing taxes, you're hearing all of that. Lay out in the next minute, and I have the timer going, what your plan is for the residents on your final thought to convince them to pull
so, so to the people of the city of Syracuse, a big portion is George just brought up is housing. What I want to do, what I will do when I become the next mayor of the city of Syracuse is I'll dissolve the land bank. I'll bring back the dollar house. My goal is to get more city residents owning homes. You'll be able to purchase a home for $1, between $10,000 and $1, just depending on the home. And then we'll find resources to help you fix those homes up so that you can become homeowners and we got more homes back on the tax roll. That's one. dealing with those homes that cannot be refixed. We will deconstruct those homes, and they'll have property for people who are interested in buying those properties and building some homes on those properties. That's one portion. In terms of rent control, a mayor cannot control rent. If you as a landlord have a set price, that price is mostly governed by the market. But what I can say to landlords who I have a great relationship with is that we have to make sure that we are providing quality homes at reasonable rates for the people of the city of Syracuse.
I got to call it right there. Alfonso Davis, election day is November the 4th. Wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Inspiration for the Nation candidate conversation series. I told them a couple of minutes, and it certainly went longer than that. But here's what I say about that. Look, we're giving candidates opportunity to talk directly to the people without filter, and that's what we did today. So thank you, Alfonso.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
And wish you well.
And you'll be invited to the victory party.
Inspiration for the Nation.